Will the Seattle area real estate market rebound in 2024? That is the question, and today I'm gonna give you an answer. Hey there, it's Brennen Clouse, your favorite Seattle area realtor. If you don't know anything about me, I left Microsoft years ago in order to start helping people one-on-one build their wealth through real estate and achieve their dreams to live their best life. I'm so excited you're here today because today we're talking about, will the Seattle area real estate market actually rebound in 2024? And to do that, we're going to use this article here from the Columbian, and it's titled, Will the Seattle Area Real Estate Market Rebound in 2024? And their 5 predictions on if that will actually happen. So we're gonna go through these one by one today, and I'm going to end with an answer for you about if the real estate market will rebound or not. Now, let's set the playing field a little bit. There was not a crash in 2023. The real estate market did okay. Yes, we were down by a lot of listings year over year. There were still sales though. There's not anything even close to a crash happening. The interest rates reached a peak, which we'll talk about today. So we're not really talking about rebounding from a crash, but we are talking about rebounding from what was a very slow market. So if you're interested in the real estate market, or you're thinking about potentially moving to Seattle or moving out of Seattle and you want to sell your home, you can always book time with me. Contact me below. There's a ton of different ways that we can get in touch, and I'm super happy to talk to you about anything real estate related in the Seattle area. Okay, with that, let's jump into the article today. So like I mentioned, this article is from the Columbian. There are 5 projections about if the Seattle real estate market will rebound in 2024. So their first projection is that home prices are set to tick up. Now with this, we need to realize that home prices were relatively steady last year. They might have dropped 1 or 2%, but it was not a huge decrease in the value of homes. But they're saying they are predicted to tick up. So the associate director of the Washington Center for Real Estate Research at University of Washington expects prices to tick up about 1 to 2% statewide and 1.5 to 3% in pricier areas like Seattle and Bellevue in 2024 compared to 2023. So that is a little bit of a jump, especially considering our median home price. Now, Matthew Gardner, who's well revered in the real estate community, he used to be the chief economist at Windermere, he has a tentative forecast that the price of single family homes in King County will raise about 3% in 2024. Compared to this time last year, the median home price in King County is down about 2%, according to the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, which is where all of the homes are listed. That said, this is still the beginning of the year. The home prices are still ramping up. We'll probably see the peak of home prices in our spring market. Spring market in Seattle is typically our busiest time of year, and that's when we plan to see the most homes actually go onto the market, and that's also when we will see the prices start to go up. So stay tuned for that. Now, Zillow, which is Seattle-based, predicted that values will end up about 1%, but will dip another 1% by the end of this year. So they went up by about 1% in 2023, and they think they'll come back down by 1%. So that would be an even zero there. Zillow uses their algorithm, it calls out, but this article specifies that the biggest thing that is challenging homeowners is affording a home is a challenge in Seattle and specifically King County. Zillow estimates that the monthly mortgage payment on a typical entry-level house or condo in Seattle is about $2,500. I would actually argue that this is probably a little bit higher, especially if you want to be close inside the city. Entry-level home, they're saying, is about $488,000, and that assumes a 20% down payment, 30-year mortgage, and a 6.7 interest rate, which is about where the interest rate is right now. That said, there's not a lot of homes for $488,000 in Seattle. You can get a condo, but then you'd have to factor in the HOA dues as well. And so $2,500 to me seems a little bit low in terms of the monthly payment, unless you're actually putting quite a bit more down. But they do call out here that can be difficult because the median single family home sold for $885,500 in King County and $944,000 in Seattle. So there you have it. The median home price is really, really high in Seattle. It is one of the most costly places in the country to live. You can reference back to my video of the pros and cons of living in Seattle to see exactly what that looks like. They also call out that the median condo is $485. As I mentioned, you could get a condo in that price range, but in Seattle, the median condo is about $583. So depending on where you want to live in the city, if you do want to be downtown, this is going to vary a lot. They say home shoppers might see relief if many more homes hit the market, but most experts say that that's not likely in 2024. So this prediction, they don't really make it clear, but I would predict that this does indicate that the Seattle real estate market is going to increase at least by a price. So my prediction here would be that Seattle is going to rebound. So we have 1 for rebound. Now, the next thing they talk about is mortgage rates may drop slightly. The average 30-year fixed was just below 7% in December, and that came down from almost, well, right at 8% earlier this year, but rates are unlikely to drop even more. Redfin, National Association of Realtors, Fannie Mae, economists say they expect mortgage rates to stay above 6% in 2024. That does make sense to me. That will not bring a ton of relief. The other thing they're predicting here is that they might go down to about 6.2 starting in 2025. So we don't see a lot of relief coming. We don't see predictions that are going to be in the 5%. And then the last quote here is good. If rates don't drop in a meaningful manner, nothing is going to change. I do agree with that. I think that the rates are very impactful to how much buyers can afford. It's also impactful to if sellers are actually going to sell their home, which we talk about here. So I would say in terms of the rates, yes, this is leaning towards rebound because we may see more people purchase. We've certainly seen a lot more buyer activity just in the first month of 2024, but I don't think it's going to be a significant rebound just because of the rate. So I would give number 2, yes, a rebound here. Their third prediction here is expect more homes for sale, but not many. So they talk about the lock-in effect, which is basically if homeowners already have a low interest rate, they don't really have a reason to sell that home and then purchase another home for a higher interest rate. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is if you are in a low interest rate and you have a lot of equity in that home, meaning you have a bunch of cash that you would receive once you sell that home, you could actually use that cash to buy down the rate on your next home or put it down a bigger down payment. So you could actually see where you move up in a house and maybe have a lower monthly payment. I have seen scenarios like that, and I don't think enough people are talking about how that could be a possibility in certain markets like Seattle. It especially could be a possibility for people like downsizers if you were going from a really bigger, expensive house to a smaller house that had a lower monthly payment. So they talked through how the supply of homes for sale in King County has remained tight through 2023. There were 29% fewer new listings hitting the market in King County from January through November in 2023 as compared to 2022, which does track basically what I was saying before. If the mortgage rates hover around 6%, more homeowners may move, but as they're expecting, that may not happen. So even though mortgage rates may decline, Chief Economist Mark Fleming says it's unlikely that it will be sufficient enough to end the seller strike in 2024. So I think this is our first one where we see there may not be a big rebound in the Seattle area real estate market because we're probably not going to have a lot more listings. Now, what this means if you're thinking about buying in 2024 is that you may face competition because there are so few listings and there are a lot of buyers out there. So you'll have a lot of competition. For sellers, this means that you may have less competition compared to years like 2018, 2019, 2020. So you want to still prepare your house really well, make sure it's very well suited to go on the market, very widely applicable to your buyer audience, and then you may get a really great price because you're one of few homes and there are a lot of buyers out there. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about selling this year. Less competition, which might mean a higher price for you. Okay, so on to our fourth. Currently we have 2 yeses for rebound, 1 no for rebound. So the fourth, apartment rents are poised to climb. So the rental market is very closely tied to the buying and purchasing market, especially in Seattle. Rents have been on a roller coaster they're talking about. There were a lot of new rental units delivered in 2022, 2023 in Seattle. So new construction apartments meant that the median rental price stayed the same, and it actually dipped 1% in November of 2023 compared to 2022. So that is in line with the national trend that we're also seeing. They call out here, but now we have fewer rental apartments coming into the market. So what we will likely see, they're saying, is that rents will increase. They're predicting that rents will increase about 4% in 2024. That's higher than the average of 2.5% per year over the past 2 decades. So there's not a lot of projects breaking ground. They talk about developers are struggling to finance construction projects. But what they're saying is that even though there is going to be an increase in rent, that may not put people off of the path of renting. It may keep people in renting just because the cost of home ownership is also so high. Now, there's a couple different ways you could think about this. Yes, their way is one. Even though the cost of home ownership is high, I'll still rent, wait, and maybe hopefully it will come down. I personally don't see the Seattle market coming down a whole lot, so I don't know if that makes sense. The other version of thinking about this is there are a lot of people who, if they start to pay so much in rent, they say to themselves, why are we paying for a rental of a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment when we could actually pay for a home and have the mortgage payment about the same amount, or maybe just slightly more, but then we'll own the home, we may have more amenities, we may have more space. That's a big reason I see people move from rentals into home ownership. Now, you could argue that if they're already renting a single family home, maybe they never would wanna buy one because they already have that space or the amenities they desire. But a lot of people, I think, if they do see rent rates go up, they're going to start thinking about, well, what could I purchase for this same monthly amount? Obviously, they have to have money saved for the down payment. They have to be ready to go through that process, have their credit in line, and be able to get their pre-approval. But I do think a lot of people start to think about that. So I don't know if I agree with this completely. I think there is another side of the story here where if you are renting and the rents go up, you might start thinking about actually buying because you get more for your money, or you might pay slightly more for a mortgage, but you're getting a lot more in terms of your lifestyle and what you might want and owning the property, as opposed to putting money into rent where you never get that back. So this one, I would say that they're basically saying that there will not be a lot more people buying. So I would give this one a no for rebounding in 2024. They don't really delineate here which one they're talking about, but I would say this is a no. So we have 2 for yes, the real estate market will rebound. 2 for no, it will not. And so let's go to the last one. Office woes are likely to persist. So they're talking about heading into the 5th year since the start of COVID. Many white-collar jobs are still logging in from home. Companies like Microsoft and Meta have shed office space, and then nearly a quarter of central Seattle office space is vacant in the 3rd quarter of 2023. Also heavy vacancy on the east side, so in places like Bellevue, Redmond, those places. 8% of office space vacant in central Bellevue and 22% vacant in Redmond in the 3rd quarter of 2023. Insiders don't expect a turnaround. They're saying they'll still see empty office spaces in the start of 2024. They're saying desk sharing, or hoteling they're calling it, hasn't really worked. And then office rents are likely to stay flat this coming year in 2024. And to attract tenants, office spaces are going to have to offer more concessions or free rent. I don't know if I completely agree with this as well. I think that a lot of office culture will be influenced by companies like Amazon that are really big. Even Microsoft is having times now where they're requiring employees to go back to work. I've heard it directly from my clients. I know that other companies will probably do the same and follow suit. The reason being, all of these companies compete for talent in Seattle. So if one company is offering an amazing work from home package and you can't get that at other companies, basically those other companies are not as competitive. They would have to either pay a lot more or offer some sort of other incentive to poach that talent. So I do think that this is a bit skewed. I'm obviously talking from a tech perspective. That's my background. I think a lot of the tech companies will start to follow Amazon's model of actually being in person and wanting their employees back. That's my personal opinion. I think this article says this is going to impact the real estate market in a negative way, not allowing it to rebound. So that would mean this article is having 3 no's, that it won't rebound, and 2 yeses, but I would actually change that a little bit. I think they're altering perspectives. I would say the office space is a less impactful metric here to use for if it will rebound. And specifically in my experience so far this year in 2024, we are seeing a lot of buyers come off the sideline. Interest rates have crept down from 8%, so they're now a whole percent, 1.3% lower. And so that is really impactful to those buyers who do need to move. Do I think that there will be an influx of a lot of buyers or a lot of sellers? Absolutely not. But I do think that we will see those people who need to move or want to move or have life events that cause them to move. Those will still happen. I think the market will still be competitive. And I think we will see a better market than we saw in 2023. So while this article from the Columbian says probably not, I am saying that yes, the real estate market will rebound. We use that term a little bit loosely, but I think we will see the Seattle area real estate market rebound in 2024. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments below. And again, if you have any questions about real estate or you want to look at some data, I'm super happy to set up a call and talk you through what it's like to buy or sell in the area. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you'll hit subscribe to my channel so that you can find out about all of our future videos. And thanks for watching. See you next time.